Now we're gonna get an update from Brad Bailey about upcoming lunar solicitations. Brad,
Awesome. Thanks, Deborah. I'm assuming you can hear me okay.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Great. Thank you. Next slide, please. So clearly there's a lot going on. You've heard that from all speakers thus far. And we wanted to just take a moment and tell you about upcoming opportunity solicitations that are specifically coming out of LDEP. This is not going to be an all-inclusive discussion that has STMD um, and other organizations' solicitations. But hopefully you'll recognize a lot of the things that we've been talking about over the last year or so, and that you've been starting to pull your teams together. So this is the overall Moon to Mars Planning Manifest that was released with the FY23 President's Budget. And it's pretty clear that there's a lot going on across ESD as well as SMD and STMD. Vic, can I get the next slide, please? And what we did here was we put blue boxes around the ESD architecture that's going to lead into solicitations from SMD. The red boxes are indicators of where we have a need for instruments to go down to the lunar surface. You can see in the top you have Artemis 3. There's a blue box, the red box. I'll talk about that here in a minute. And then you have in 2028, you have Artemis 5, as well as the Lunar Terrain Vehicle delivery. And each one of those leads to solicitations for us. For Artemis 3, the blue box or the red box around it, that is talking about the Artemis 3 geology team, which Sarah Noble will talk about a little bit later. But then we also have an upcoming deployed instruments call that will focus on deployed instruments for Artemis 3 and Artemis 5. We also have a call coming out for lunar terrain vehicle instruments, as well as the Prism 3 solicitation that will manifest the two CLIPS delivery, CP31 and 32. And you also note that there are two other boxes, blue boxes with dashed lines around them. And those dashed boxes represent other opportunities that we're investigating how best um, to look at the science that could be done from those platforms and the opportunities that exist there. They're currently in negotiation. We're trying to figure that out. So stay tuned on those, but there are plenty of other opportunities coming up. Can I get the next slide, please? And this is just a list of those, just to walk you through them a little bit more in detail. The Artemis 3 geology team really is looking at developing science objectives for Artemis 3 and coordinating the science activities with crew in conjunction with the internal science team, which you'll hear again more about shortly. The Artemis 3-5 deployed instruments call is going to include surface deployed instruments, lander mounted instruments, and or astronaut utilized instruments. And of course, we also have the Lunar Terrain Vehicle, and that may include chassis mounted, mast mounted, and or arm mounted instruments. And then finally, the Prism 3 solicitation will be for the next two CLIPS deliveries to a South Polar location and also a to be determined location. And we are currently investigating uh, whether that's to be determined location can be suggested or chosen through the PRISM process by the community instead of dictated by headquarters in the CLIPS office. And I do want to call out the fact that we do have plans for at least a 3-month prior to all solicitations draft solicitation or community announcement, just so that we can get comments back and you all can understand the scope of each of these calls a little bit more. All of these calls are expected to be released within 1 calendar year from today. So by this time next year, hopefully, I'm sure you all have calluses on your fingers from the number of proposals that I'm sure you'll be participating in. So we really look forward to seeing all those proposals. And I also will say that, as you can tell, there are a lot of opportunities that come out there that require proposals and solicitations. But we'll also be asking the broad community for review time. Clearly have a lot of need for reviewers with this number of solicitations in such a short amount of time. We are excited about this. It's a lot of work coming up, but we hope you all are as excited about it as we are. And with that, I'll stop and turn it over to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Brad.